Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. A pet food recall after a cat dies of avian flu.
Right now, we have evidence that this one specific food was potentially contaminated with this virus. This is a virus I think we always should be treating with a healthy level of concern.
Also, a sobering reminder.
I saw him weaving as he was coming towards me, and I had basically 3 seconds, and then there was the impact, and I'll never forget it.
The devastating consequences of impaired driving and the efforts to step up enforcement, and a trucker's trek to return a lost purse. The effort also earning him an award nomination.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Benit Rach. Thanks for joining us. A BC man is facing 6 impaired driving charges over a crash that killed an elderly Good Samaritan. It happened near Qualicum Beach earlier this year. RCMP say on March 2nd, around 2:30 in the morning, a woman driving a minivan lost control and hit a power pole. An 80-year-old man identified as Patrick Hare by his family stopped to help. Hare and the minivan driver were outside of their vehicles when another car crashed into the minivan and both people were hit. Hare was killed and the 36-year-old minivan driver was seriously injured. Now, police say 29-year-old Jacob Aaron Pardiak is facing 6 charges, including operation of a motor vehicle causing death while impaired by alcohol. And a truck driver is being recognized for a good deed after he drove hours out of his way to reunite a woman with her lost purse. Sorb Sandhu spoke to the driver about why he wanted to help.
When 34-year-old truck driver Daljit Sohi was called into a meeting with his supervisor earlier this month, he was nervous. So he thought he was going to be warned for a safety violation. But little did he know that one of his good deeds had finally caught up with him.
We received a call from a third party stating that one of our driver, she's looking for one of driver, name of the driver and address of the driver.
The driver that the caller was looking for was Daljit Sohi. On November 29th, on his way to Abbotsford from Calgary, Sohi stopped in Golden to grab a cup of coffee. As he was returning to his truck, he saw a woman drop a purse in the parking lot. But before he could alert her, the woman drove off. Sohi says he picked up the purse hoping there would be a phone inside that the woman would call. But instead he found
money and documents and IDs and gold chain.
So he says with no other means to contact the woman, he started following her in his truck.
I was like, why he's following me? He tried to flash his light, but I was like, why it happened?
I did not even take bathroom break.
After a 3-hour drive, Shelly James finally stopped at a gas station in Sicamous, where Sohi was able to return the purse to its rightful owner. James says she offered Sohi a $500 cash reward, which he turned down.
I asked him name as well, but he didn't give me name.
But James was not letting this kind gesture go unrewarded. She managed to note down the number for the trailer company, through which she reached out to Sohi's employer.
Everybody was so happy about what Daljit has done.
At the recent meeting, Sohi was recognized by his employer for the kind deed, which he says he had not shared with anyone, not even his wife.
This gentleman is quite humble to not boast about himself, but yes, definitely we were quite surprised in a positive way.
So he has received a gift and a note of thanks from the owner of the purse. He has also been nominated for the 2024 Truckload Carriers Association Award. He says that's not why he did the good deed, but he is happy to get the recognition. Sorb Sandhu, CBC News, Abbotsford.
A preschool in Kimberly, BC is at risk of closing in the new year, and that's due to challenges with staffing and finances. The closure could leave 30 families without care. As Corey Bullock reports, it's a difficult situation for an area already struggling with childcare demand.
Bev Anderson is concerned for families who may not have childcare come January. They could be added to a wait list that already has numbers in the hundreds. She's also afraid that she could be out of a job, as Purcell Preschool may have to close its doors.
Families are distraught.
The preschool in Kimberly runs as a social enterprise, meaning any money it makes goes back into the school. It relies on some funding from the province to operate, but manager Bailey Mignot says that comes with constraints.
Without being able to mediate these costs somehow, our doors are probably going to have to close.
BC subsidizes the fees that parents pay through the Childcare Fee Reduction Initiative and also supplements the wages of childcare workers. But the school was recently denied an application to further increase its own fees, leaving it about 30% short compared to the provincial benchmark. The benchmark varies regionally and by program and was recently adjusted for the Kootenay Boundary region. For children 18 months and under, the benchmark is just over $1,500. Purcell was only approved for $1,210. They're not sure why they weren't approved for the whole amount. In a statement to CBC News, the Ministry of Education and Childcare said that annual fee limits vary depending on the location of the provider, the type of care, and the age of the children. The ministry says staff are, quote, working with the childcare provider to better understand the situation and provide options to ensure they can continue providing this vital service.
We haven't had the opportunity to catch up to where the new benchmark is, so other centers are now being able to charge more.
She says maintaining their old building is costly. Even if parents offer to pay more, she says that's not an option under their operation model. And parents just want to know if they'll have care for their kids next year.
There's usually around 200 to 400 people ahead of you on a wait list. So generally speaking, it could take years before you actually get a call.
Every day I come and pick my kids up, they're better kids. So yeah, the potential of losing Purcell has been very hard for our family.
According to the city, Kimberly has 3 other childcare facilities, only one of them with an infant-toddler program. And the province is nearing completion on a brand new facility that's part of the Childcare BC New Spaces Fund. It's not clear when it will open. It will have space for more than 140 kids. And while it will alleviate some of the wait lists in Kimberly, it will also need to be staffed with early childhood educators.
If they have a waiting list that is over 100 or 200, and ours is that as well, and we have children in our care, and these other facilities have children in their care, how does it affect those families if the ECEs decide to move and apply for a position over there?
Staff and parents say the situation speaks to another issue, a shortage of childcare workers in BC.
Even though I am an ECE and I've been called lots to come to work, I'm just unable to because I don't have childcare. That's the irony.
For now, Purcell Preschool will keep kids happy, playing and learning. But for how long? They're not sure. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Kimberly.
Well, it looks like we'll be saying goodbye to 2024 with rainy skies. Chris Potter joins us now with a first look at the weather.
Well, Benit, dry weather is going to be replaced by wet weather. Yet another Pacific system moving in from the west is going to continue to move in, and it's going to be focusing its attention towards Vancouver Island, the lower mainland as well. That's where the rainfall will likely prove to be steadiest. I don't necessarily think it's going to be overly heavy, but there will be the potential for steady, moderate rain from time to time, but it won't make for washout conditions completely. Here's how it works through the overnight. We're going to continue to see that rainfall, higher elevation snow. It looks like the snow levels are anywhere between 400 to 600 meters. The rainfall will be at its steadiest through the overnight and into the morning. Temperatures will be around 6 through the overnight, 7 for the morning. And by the afternoon, although showers are still in the forecast, most areas will start to dry out quite effectively. We're only left with a slight risk for a few residual showers, and then dry weather is going to carry us through Saturday evening, Saturday night. More rainfall arrives for Sunday. We'll tell you when, coming up.
All right, thanks, Chris. Okay, here's a retro throwback to extreme sports video games from 20 years ago, but the sport might surprise you this time. So the Vancouver developer is calling it the world's first authentic street unicycling video game. Take a look.
My name is Daffodil, game developer, unicyclist. Well, I don't drive a car, so unicycle is my main mode of transportation. I've been obsessed with PlayStation 1 extreme sports games all my life, and I just thought it would be cool to make a game that's like based on this hobby that I'm like so kind of obsessed with, and kind of developed from there.
Street UniX is a video game. It's a extreme sports game on unicycles. In Street UniX, you ride a unicycle, you can jump, You can do tricks in the air where you flip the unicycle around or grab it in different ways.
In 2018, I ended up meeting a handful of riders in Korea when I went there for this event called Unicon, an international unicycling convention and competition. That just kind of fed into my obsession with making the game.
I couldn't have finished the game if it wasn't for the help and funding that I got from Gamma Space and Weird Ghosts.
My name is Henry Faber. Yes, I'm a co-founding member of Gamma Space. I was involved with developing our publishing program. As a not-for-profit, it is all community investment, right? So everything that happens goes back into the community in some way or another. We can do it differently and build a kind of supportive ecosystem that benefits everyone, and everyone's learning and taking value from it and contributing with each other.
I want to fix things. I want to make things myself as much as I can. I want to learn how things work. I want to amplify my friends who are making cool stuff and creative work.
All the music is local artists.
And I kept finding more and more bands. Sometimes people would message me online who I'd never heard of, being like, can I send you this track for the game? The response to the game has been enriching. It feels really good to see people play it, and especially when they like it. A lot of people in my life are trying to do creative work, and it really is a privilege to be supported in that work. I think it's important that we all maintain our creative focus, our creative vision, that we show our community what we care about, and amplify the care of others in our community, and celebrate our friends when they show us something cool they made.
And it's the third night of Hanukkah, and Jewish communities across the province will light another candle on the menorah. Now in Squamish, the Jewish Federation of Greater Vancouver is getting ready for their Hanukkah extravaganza.
What it is we're just going to have, it's a 4-hour event. The first 2 hours are going to be a little bit of learning how to make your favorite Hanukkah treats, including latkes and some Hanukkah cookies. The second half is just a mingle, have fun. We have some games planned. We're going to have music playing and a silent auction as well.
Organizers say they will compare their recipes in making a crispy potato latke, and the Hanukkah extravaganza will not be a public event. Organizers say it's due to rising anti-Semitism in Canada after the October 7 attacks last year.
Our cultural symbols she deems to be religious ones, and therefore they shouldn't
light those menorahs and bring more light, love, and hope into the world. And the miracle of the lamps, I can't go until
And a new study has found 2 distinct populations of orcas are expanding their territory into Arctic waters. But researchers say this could have severe consequences for other existing whales.
So we know that the killer whales are changing the behavior of Arctic ice-adapted whales. But when you have a top predator and it changes their prey that's high on the food chain, those effects can cascade down through the ecosystem. In other regions, when you add killer whales to an ecosystem, they do have cascading effects.
The study says warming from climate change is opening up the Arctic waters, and the existence of thousands of prey animals and whales is also motivating this migration. Coming up, why it might be the right call to find a cab or public transit if you are thinking of having a drink or two this holiday season.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you for supporting those in need.
Thank you for making the season kind with CBC.
This province does incredible things on this day.
Even though our day of special programming in support of local food banks across BC is over, you can still give. To learn how you can donate, head to cbc.ca/kindbc.
This holiday season, give the gift of live local music. Road to the Junos tickets are available now. Head to cbc.ca/Junos and get yours before they're all gone.
It's a time of the year for social gatherings and celebrations, but the holidays also come with a sobering reminder that a split-second decision could change a life forever. Janelle Hamilton reports.
As I entered through the intersection, I just heard a bang. It was like an explosion. It was like a bomb went off. And I could hear right here at this point.
How does it feel right now to be at the intersection where a collision happened that changed your life, essentially?
It feels kind of scary. I can feel inside of me the tension and the images, remembering what happened that night, how vivid it is even now.
30 years after Bob Rorson was hit by an impaired driver at this Richmond intersection, he says the sounds of a revving engine brings back the trauma.
I can almost describe in detail the sounds, the scariness I felt, the way the car pirouetted in the middle of the intersection and hit that traffic light.
Rorson says the crash had devastating consequences, both psychological and physical. He struggled to operate his aircraft maintenance business because of his injuries, and eventually it went bankrupt.
It was a very trying time, and then I had to spend years and years in recovery, getting my back to order, my legs, my arms, so I lost a lot of business. And over a period of time, I just couldn't recover.
ICBC says an average of 61 people are killed and more than 1,400 injured every year because of impaired driving. It is the third leading cause of death on the roads after speed and distracted driving.
I was here in the left lane. There was somebody to my right. There was nowhere else for me to go. And he was crossing over the center line.
Marie Tamas relives the night when an impaired driver crashed into her car head-on 17 years ago on this street in Port Moody, leaving her with extensive injuries all over her body that pain her to this day.
I still feel sharp pains deep inside my hip joint. It limits what I can do or even what I think I'm able to do for the rest of my life. When I look at pictures of my car like this and I think back to all of the pain and everything that I experienced and the fact that it is a 100% preventable crime, I hope this message reaches somebody to make a different decision.
Data from ICBC shows last year 68 people died in impaired driving collisions. That's among more than 2,000 impaired driving crashes across the province, a number that has barely changed since 2019. You have several options to get home without driving. You can take transit, which is free on New Year's Eve. You can pre-book a taxi or ride-hailing service, have a designated driver, or call Operation Red Nose, which is available in several areas across BC. All ways you and others can get around safely because the cost of impaired driving can go far beyond a ticket. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Port Moody.
The Conservative Party says it plans to force a non-confidence vote against the Trudeau government before the end of January. The party, led by Pierre Poilievre, says it will have the Public Accounts Parliamentary Committee consider and vote on the motion beginning January 7th. Now, if it passes, it could be introduced to the House on January 27th, and that's when Parliament returns from winter break, and MPs could vote on the motion as early as January 30th. Now, any motion of non-confidence in the Trudeau government would require the support of other opposition parties to pass. So NDP leader Jagmeet Singh said his party will vote to bring the government down following Chrystia Freeland's resignation from cabinet, but he didn't say when. The Bloc Québécois has also called for the Prime Minister to dissolve Parliament and call an election. And here's a look at the day in Whistler earlier today. Nice and snowy up there for all the skiers and snowboarders taking some time off during the holidays. Up next, your full BC-wide weather forecast with Chris Potter. A U.S. company is recalling one of its pet food products after a cat died of H5N1 avian influenza. In a release, the company says the recalled pet food was sold in BC and several American states. As Pinky Wong reports, Health Canada has not yet issued a recall of the pet food.
Northwest Naturals, an Oregon-based pet food company, is recalling a batch of its 2-pound feline turkey recipe raw frozen pet food. That's after the food was tested positive for avian influenza. The company says consumption of raw pet food contaminated with the virus can cause illness in animals. It says one case of illness in a domestic cat has been reported in connection with this issue. In a release, it says the recalled products is packaged in plastic bags with best of use by dates between May 21st and June 23rd, 2026. The Oregon Department of Agriculture says tests confirmed the virus was found in the cat that died and in the pet food.
We determined that that cat really did not have any of the traditional exposures that we would normally expect to see in a cat that had contracted avian influenza. It was an indoor-only cat.
He says they have received multiple reports of sick cats in Oregon, but there are no other confirmed cases at this time. Health Canada says Canadians who have the product should follow the recall instructions. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency says health authorities are monitoring the situation and are calling on pet owners to avoid feeding their dogs or cats any raw meat. In a Washington animal sanctuary, a separate breakout of avian influenza has killed half of its wildcats.
That's still hard to believe, even though it's been over a month, right about a month, that most of these cats have passed, 20 of them. We have a lot of empty habitats out there. So you'd never think they would be able to spread it amongst each other, a possible food source.
He says they are sanitizing the sanctuary frequently and feeding the remaining wildcats with antiviral medication to keep them safe. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Not that kind of up.
A Kurdish bakery in Vancouver is honoring generations of a craft. It's more than just a place for bread and sweets. The CBC's Creator Network shows us the bakery on Victoria Drive that will take your taste buds on a journey.
There's a lot of bakery here, but our products is special. My father, he was baker, so we grew up with dough and baking. All my brothers, even the education university, but they know the baking. I'm Kurdish. My families are Kurdish. Kurdistan's 4 parts. I am north of Iraq. We have 4 kinds of bread. The main, it's tandoori bread. We call it naan. I can't say more than 15 million Iraqian. Every day they use salmon. So because you can use for breakfast, lunch, dinner, for sandwich. It's kind of pita, but not pita. They're actually more delicious. In my country, the journalist is not safe. I was a journalist, so I came to Canada as a refugee, 2016. After 2 years and 8 months, my family, they came, I supported them.
Actually, I was the one that suggested bakery. At 2000, when I was born, my father opened his own first bakery, which runs still today, right now back home. This bakery still runs, which makes around between 4,000 to 5,000 pieces of breads daily, all tandoori bread.
When we started, it was a huge challenge for us. We didn't have enough budget for the bakery, and we spent a lot of times, 1 year and 3 months, just to get license. So many times, maybe my wife, she was crying in bakery. So this one, it was very hard for us.
One of the, I would say, bureaucratic hurdles were people saying, oh, there's not enough Middle Easterns here. Who's gonna buy your breads? Now, other cultures buy our breads more than Middle Easterns.
I think it's 15 bag.
Oh, that's good. Right now, we are taking those food or bread to the family who is in need. Sometimes homeless, sometimes shelters. So I'm on call. So when they have a donation, they will let me know.
I feel this bakery is not only for us. It's a responsibility for our moral to help those people.
My mom is just a sweet genius. She's always made the best, delicious, delicate pastries and sweets. The products are tradition. The recipes is all her own.
The baklava is, we have 5 kinds of baklava.
كلا ولاتي خون بوم خيات بوم يعني وكو دزرنجينيا كم تيدا هيا زوج شتوار دقرم باقلاو كي كدروستيش دكم شيرنيا يعني خلق بدريتي لدرينا داتنا زور شيرنيا بي خوشا منيش زور درم بوي خوشا كا همو كس شيرنيا كي منيا بدلا.
That dough is handmade, not phyllo, and 100% butter. Our baklava, 100% butter. No oil in our baklava, 0 oil. Actually, the profit is very, very low, but the quality is very high. Family decision. We have to stay with this quality. I'm proud our bakery, our products, our family. This bakery is kind of picture. So every one of them is main spot with this picture. Try it before you buy it. This is our policy. Everyone's first time should be try something free to know what's that. So do you want to try one? Sometimes they ask me, what's baklava? This store is not only selling. So introduce what's the baklava.
خلقكش همو زور بدريتيان أوجلو من زور جرينجا كخلقك بدريتي أو لبو من دلخوش كرا.
My wife, she blamed me. Why you want to stay in bakery all? Because I love it. Yeah.
Classical music is no longer just old school. From social media to smash hit TV shows, the genre is experiencing a surge in popularity. As Magda Gabrasalasa reports, it's younger audiences who are tuning in.
Tony Ann is a master of his own music, but from Bach to Beethoven, his covers of classical music have also struck a chord.
I wanted to respect the composers, but also I wanted to change it in a way where a younger audience can kind of consume it.
He's one of many to find success with the symphonic genre on social media. TV shows like Bridgerton have boosted the music's popularity too. Research from the UK from 2022 showed more participants under 35 reporting they regularly listen to orchestral music.
I feel like I'm surrounded by a lot of people who like classical music like I do.
It makes me feel like calm and relaxed.
Younger classical music fans are the reason that candlelight musical events like this exist. They flagged concerns over the accessibility of classical concerts, and Fever, the live entertainment company, orchestrated solutions.
We came up with having shorter concerts, a really clear, casual dress code attached to the concerts, accessible price points, and unique venues.
Over the years, traditional institutions have tried drawing in new audiences too, performing famous film scores and collaborating with famous performers like Drake.
Last season, we sold something like 230,000 tickets, and almost 10% of that group of people had never been to the Toronto Symphony Orchestra before. It really shows us that we're reaching new audiences.
But this music journalist says old school organizations need to up the ante and amp up their social media presence.
More of an organic presence on social media. It's not just sort of typical educational type content that we find from social media, from orchestras, for example, which tends to be a little bit patronizing.
For Tony Ann, social media has been his secret sauce for success.
I want to just keep making music and, sharing my content.
He's gone from racking up views online to selling out shows worldwide. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Toronto.
And after the break, we hear from a Canadian activist recently targeted by Hong Kong and why calls for his arrest won't stop his pro-democracy work. Indian law enforcement agencies are investigating alleged links between dozens of Canadian colleges and the smuggling of foreign students over the Canada-US border. As Julia Wong reports, the probe was launched after an Indian couple and their 2 children were found dead near the Manitoba-US border crossing in 2022.
A shocking allegation from India. Officials claim Indian nationals are being trafficked to the United States using Canadian colleges and universities as a front. Indian police accuse at least one man of charging huge sums and arranging for people to get admission and a student visa. But they say once the individuals or students reach Canada, instead of joining the college, they illegally cross the US-Canada border. Admission fees to the college are then returned. Indian police claim tens of thousands of students and hundreds of colleges in Canada are involved, though they do not name any of them.
We have an honor-based system and it's being exploited by transnational criminals and other individuals who simply are taking advantage of a system that has virtually no oversight.
The Indian investigation started after the Patel family from India was found frozen to death in 2022, trying to cross into the U.S. from Canada. U.S. prosecutors argued 2 men, ultimately convicted, brought people from India to Canada on student visas, only to send them across the border. According to U.S. data, since 2022, the overall number of Indian nationals caught illegally crossing into the U.S. from Canada has skyrocketed. One expert says work opportunities in the U.S. are attractive. The allegations come at a tense time, after the RCMP and federal officials accused the Indian government of orchestrating killings on Canadian soil.
The Indian government and the Indian media are not fans of this current Prime Minister and this current Liberal government.
Experts say the federal government needs to step it up at the border.
The Canadian Border Services needs to continue to share information with the U.S. counterparts and prove that not only are we able to monitor our own border to prevent crossings like this, but also do the upstream work within our consulates.
Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada tells CBC News it's aware of reports of illegal crossings into the U.S. from Canada and is taking action, including training for officers and working with border services. The RCMP tell us it's reached out to India for more information. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
And after the deadly airliner crash in Kazakhstan on Christmas Day, preliminary findings have been released in the investigation. Footage has emerged on social media, appearing to show shrapnel holes in the airplane's body. Azerbaijan Airlines says the findings suggest its plane experienced, quote, external physical and technical interference, but did not elaborate. Now, some aviation experts say the damage could have been caused by Russian air defense system. Both Washington and Kyiv have blamed Russia. The Kremlin says the investigation is ongoing and it will wait for the final report. 39 of the 67 people on board were killed when the airliner went down during the flight to southern Russia. And CBC News is also hearing directly from a Canadian being targeted by Hong Kong. A substantial bounty is now being offered for information leading to his arrest. Vanessa Lee has his response to this alarming tactic.
For years, Victor Ho, the former editor of Canada's largest Chinese-language newspaper, has been on Hong Kong's wanted list. Now there is a bounty on him too.
I don't think I will fall in the trap of the Hong Kong government being detained.
On Tuesday, Hong Kong police announced a fresh round of arrest warrants for 6 activists based overseas, with bounties set at the equivalent of 185,000 Canadian for information leading to their arrests. They are accused of breaking broad national security offenses, intended to crack down on anything authorities deem as breaking away from China. Ho has been living in Canada since 1997 and has helped launch a plan to elect an unofficial Hong Kong parliament in March using a highly secure mobile app.
The first time Hong Kong people use their ballot to select the legislative council member or parliament member without any interference from the Communist Party.
Joe Tay, founder of Canada-based group Hong Konger Station, is also wanted in Hong Kong. He reacted on social media, saying clearly it was intended to rob us of peace. Activists say the move is designed to instill fear and silence.
And what China is currently doing right now is they're even harsher on the Hong Kong people than with your own people in the mainland China.
NDP MP Jenny Kwan calls the campaign shameful and is demanding targeted sanctions on Hong Kong and Chinese officials responsible for human rights violations.
We can end all diplomatic privileges for the Hong Kong Economic Trade Office.
Ho and other activists say they won't be deterred by warrants and bounties. Instead, will use it as momentum for their cause. Vanessa Lee, CBC News, Montreal.
And two of Justin Trudeau's top ministers are in Palm Beach, Florida. Melanie Joly and Dominic LeBlanc met with members of the incoming Trump administration to discuss the tariffs that the U.S. president-elect has threatened to impose on Canadian products. So in a statement beforehand, LeBlanc's office said they would highlight the negative impacts those tariffs would have both on Canada and the United States. His spokesperson called it a positive and productive meeting and said they also discussed Canada's efforts to combat drug trafficking and illegal migration. This trip coincides with Donald Trump's ongoing trash talking about the Prime Minister on social media, referring to him as governor and suggesting that Canada become the 51st U.S. state. All right, it looks like more rain on the horizon for us. Chris Potter joins us now with our full weather forecast.
Benita, I'm going to start off with some weather statistics, if you will. Normal daytime high for this time of year is around 5.7. The record high set back in 1980, 12.4. And the normal overnight low is close to that 0-degree mark, just above. In terms of the daytime highs we achieved today, temperatures were just a touch above normal in most areas, around 7 to 8 degrees. 2 in Pemberton and -1 through Merritt. And Victoria had once again 8 degrees. Our system continues to move in from the west. And once again, it will focus its wet weather potential primarily across Vancouver Island as well as the lower mainland. Obviously, interior and higher elevation snow is expected, and there's a snowfall warning up towards Whistler. So if you're going to be traveling that sea to sky highway tonight and early tomorrow morning, obviously be careful out there on the roadways. Once we get through the morning, that's when the bulk of the rainfall will fall. As we get into the afternoon, although we don't completely dry out, we will still see some scattered showers, but there's also going to be a lot of areas that are drying out and will dry out more effectively as we head through the evening and overnight. Dry weather is anticipated to start the day on Sunday, so get out and enjoy it, because then another surge of moisture begins to lift back in, and the end result will be more rainfall for Vancouver, the lower mainland, and higher elevation snow. But you'll notice it's not as widespread as that first system tonight and into the day on Saturday. As we get through into Monday, I should say, most areas will be drying out, but there's still the risk of some scattered showers and perhaps a few, once again, pockets of light snow in the higher elevations. So in terms of the potential rainfall we're expecting, keep in mind this is the combination of what's to fall tonight all the way into Monday morning. It looks like most areas will receive around 20 to 40 millimeters, maybe 50 plus in some locations across Vancouver. In terms of snowfall, once again, the snow levels will be around 400 to 600 meters, and that's going to be universal into the day tomorrow as well as tomorrow night and into Sunday. And it does look like some of those mountains, even the North Shore mountains, could pick up 20 to 40 centimeters of localized accumulation. Now, in terms of the forecast stepping forward, we will feature above normal temperatures for the most part on average. Obviously, we start to fall down Tuesday and into Wednesday. It's not going to be a washout Saturday. It looks worse on paper. The bulk of that rainfall will be Saturday morning. As we get into Sunday, the bulk of the rainfall will be afternoon and evening. Then we dry out. Monday, mostly cloud cover expected. There will be a decent amount of sun in a lot of areas on the outskirts, and once again, the chance of a few showers. As we get into Tuesday, at this point, it looks like a dry weather day, but we will become mostly cloudy, and it does look like another surge of moisture will move in Tuesday night and into the day on Wednesday, and this will once again create some rainfall. It looks like 10 to 15 millimeters worth on your Wednesday with higher elevation snowfall once again. That's a full check on your weather forecast, Benit. Have a great night.
All right, thanks so much, Chris. And boats are accidentally coming into contact with whales at an increasing pace, putting these ocean giants at risk and prompting calls for change. As Lindsay Duncombe reports, the problem is getting worse, but researchers have come up with some potential solutions.
Look closely at this whale calf and you'll see evidence of a growing problem. Cuts from a propeller blade, evidence of a collision with a boat.
It's a really dangerous and noisy world for whales right now.
The risk comes from both small boats and huge vessels. The world's waterways are getting busier, and that can be deadly for whales. A recent study published in the journal Science compared the migration patterns of 4 species, blue, fin, humpback, and sperm whales, with shipping routes. It found shipping occurs in 92% of whale ranges, all the red areas on the map. Essentially, much of the planet's coastline shows a high risk for collisions. Chloe Robinson is the director of the Whale Initiative at Oceanwise. The organization contributed data to the study.
This is actually really problematic for especially humpback whales that are only just making a comeback from the population declines they suffered through commercial whaling.
The study found less than 7% of those hotspots have management strategies to reduce collisions. There are mandatory and voluntary slowdown areas on specific sections of Canada's coastline. That's helped to protect right whales in the Gulf of St. Lawrence.
So we're doing a good job there. But when the right whales are on their way to the Gulf of St. Lawrence, or after they leave, they're running the gauntlet until they get to the next protected area.
One way to protect whales may be infrared cameras that detect a whale's blow on the horizon.
You can help. Send a sighting and save a whale.
And OceanWise has developed a system where people who see whales can input the location into a real-time alert for ships.
Potential incident averted.
One area where whales seem to be thriving free from ships is in Arctic waters. Researchers say that's good news for now, but they worry about what will happen as the planet warms and global shipping routes move north. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, Christmas is over and the new year is almost here, but the holiday cheer is still on even in this strange in-between time. So what do we call this? Well, some Vancouverites have a name for it. More on that coming up.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
CBC is a returning partner of the Push International Performing Arts Festival, January 23rd to February 9th. The festival features presentations of groundbreaking contemporary works of theater, dance, music, and multimedia. And ring in the new year with CBC. Watch a special live broadcast on New Year's Eve on CBC Gem, CBC TV, and the CBC News BC streaming channel. Coverage begins at 5 p.m.
And some news from out of this world. A NASA spacecraft has successfully completed its closest ever approach to the sun. The Parker Solar Probe phoned home shortly before midnight Eastern Time, and all indications are that it's operating normally. The probe will begin sending back the valuable data it gathered on New Year's Day, and scientists are hoping the information will give them a better understanding of the origins of solar winds. And some call it Twixmas, others call it Crimbo Limbo. Now is the time between Christmas and New Year's where people sleep off big meals and come up with resolutions. Well, we asked Vancouverites what we should name this sometimes sleepy week.
If you had to name the time between Christmas and New Year's, what would you name it and why?
I would name it cheese time because Christmas is for snacking and time stops existing. So you just like eat cheese and watch movies and like hang out.
Why cheese?
Because cheese is the best and I can't afford it all year. So this is the time to splurge.
The best week in the year because also it's my birthday between these two dates.
It's your birthday!
It's in 27th of December. My birthday.
What do you think, Sophia?
I'd call it festive in the holiday season.
Festival holiday season.
I love that, festival holiday season. It's quippy, it's right to the point. I love that.
Whether it's cheese week or it's your birthday or a festival time, enjoy it safely. Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube, and of course, our website, that's cbc.ca/BC. We will have your next local news at 11 o'clock right after the National. Good night.